Welcome, friends. Welcome to Rainy Nights, the segment of my YouTube channel where I interview other motovloggers and motorcycle riders. If you haven't been here before, I'm Rainy Rider. I ride a 2019 BMW Grand America and a 2021 Harley Sportster. Feel free to give the channel a like and a subscribe. Tonight we have what I have recently known is the Queen of the Apocalypse Army. So give us a hello and tell us why it's good to have you on our Apocalypse Army side when Armageddon finally happens.
It's interesting the way that you phrased that. I could have been either side. The person who is good to be on your apocalypse team and the one who could start the apocalypse. You know what? Could go either way.
If you
that's why it's good to have me on your team.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is that whichever side I'm on, you should be on that side. That's why it's good to have me on your team.
You're my team. So where are you from and what do you ride?
I am from Columbus, Ohio, and I ride them all. My current bikes are a what? That's a good answer. I ride them all.
I'm gonna get a little sign, and if that's what she said, I'm just gonna keep. Okay.
We just need to wait for Aaron to start posting that's what she said.
He may not be here yet.
So to answer your real question, I ride a 2020 Harley-Davidson Lowrider S, a 2006 Sportster, and a 2022 Royal Enfield Himalayan. Those are my three bikes currently technically titled to me.
Okay, and the Himalayan, is it the Scram that's yours now, or is it just a regular Himalayan? I'd say regular
just
Himalayan.
A regular. Yeah, I mean, yes, it could be confusing, but yes, technically the Scram is a Himalayan Scram, but I just call that just the Scram. So I have a Himalayan, the Scram is different, and it's a hill I'll die on that they are two different bikes.
Oh, absolutely. And those in the collect call it the Scram. I got it.
Yes, the Scram.
The Scram. So how long have you been riding?
6-something years. I have to do math and I don't like math, but 6 years sounds right.
Math's hard.
So
I get it.
Not that long.
So how did you get into motorcycles?
There's kind of two answers for that. One, I got into motorcycling from I've always wanted to ride a motorcycle since I was super small, super tiny. I grew up above a biker bar, but my parents actively persuaded me or dissuaded me from riding, kept me from doing it my whole life. I always wanted to get my motorcycle license. I got it when I turned 30 for my 30th birthday and just have been riding since.
And that's kind of surprising because you're like a natural. I mean, I've seen your videos.
That's funny because most of my comments are about how I don't know how to ride.
People that say that, okay, we've talked about this before. I think we talked about it in one of the other group chats we had, but for some reason, people that watch a lot of Dan the Fireman and a lot of these training videos have this weird thing in their head how you're supposed to ride, how you're supposed to lean. Mm-hmm. And when I see you riding and it's with that first person view, that's how I ride. That's how I lean. That's how I kick. And I think people that say you don't know how to ride are those people who don't really ride themselves but watch a lot of other people ride and go, oh, that's how you're supposed to do it.
Well, all I can say is I get a lot of comments about how far the wear on my tires for the Sportster go. So,
and that's the other thing. Unless you're a GP rider, shut up to me about chicken strips because you don't want to go that far down on a bike. That's not a good thing.
Well, I mean, I didn't know what chicken strips meant until someone was like, oh, you don't have any. And I was like, have any what? They're like, you don't have any chicken strips. And I was like, I could always eat. So where are we going? And he was like, no, the tires on your Sportster the wear is really far on the edges. And I was like, yeah, makes sense. And he goes, not for a Sportster, not for a cruiser. And I was like, okay. Mine does. I don't know what you want me to say. But, yeah, I didn't know what that term was until someone said I didn't have it. So, made me feel pretty good.
Yeah. Maybe for somebody who knows what they're talking about, okay, I'll buy it.
Oh, poor Aaron. He'll not be with us. Oh, he's dog sitting and has no phone signal. Man, I was hoping to rely on him for all of our TWSS, so... Oops.
Is Juice in there somewhere? I think Juice can follow up with the That's What She Said comments. Bleak's here. Bleak can do the That's What She Said comments as good as anybody. Let's see who we do have in the crowd tonight. So we got Father Bobber, a friend of both of ours. Father Bobber.
Yes, I'm excited for his March 4th?
His Chicago trip.
It's in my noggin. No, isn't he on this?
Oh, he will be on this. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were on his upcoming Chicago trip. He's going to be making a video about that. But yeah, he introduced me to Rabbit Hash. So that's coming up. No spoilers. But yep.
I haven't been, but it's been described to me at length. So.
Yeah. Not to spoil anything, but if you're a good rider, you will love riding back there.
Yeah, I heard it's not for beginners. So
it's not a beginner's road, especially not at night. But yes, it's a very cool place to go.
Are we considering it like a whole road, like it's like a real road? Or is it off-road?
So it's on paved road. It's on blacktop road part of it.
Okay.
Very skinny roads,
right.
But it's all like back in the woods, like suburban neighborhoods. A lot of it right by the river. It's gorgeous back there. But I do digress. But yes, 10 of 10. Highly recommend. Get some.
Mike,
bacon.
we're gonna have to keep each other on topic because we are the two worst people to be doing this together with no
awesome.
like supervision.
No, this is gonna be awesome. I love this. This is gonna be great. So, yes.
All right. So Rabbit Hash, are you going with him?
If I go back, we're gonna skip the whole bike night. Go straight to Rabbit Hash because it's absolutely worth it. Okay. He says Nashville, not Chicago. I got it. Okay. Good enough. Oh, you won't be far from me then. Maybe I'll have to take a trip over there. If you haven't already done it. You can never tell on these YouTube videos how if someone's already done something or if they're getting ready to do something because the anticipation, the build up for the video, you never know what's going to happen. Oh, Skittles McDiddle's in the crowd. I'm going to be doing her and Bueller very shortly in another couple of weeks.
Phrasing, Rainey. Phrasing.
What? What do you mean? What do you mean?
You don't have anybody else.
As she told me, they come in as a group. So if you got one of them, you got the other one. That's just how it goes. She told me that herself, and he said, "Yep." Okay, so anyway.
Look, you don't have the other guys in the in the live stream to protect you or to keep me from ganging up on you just by myself. So
it's all up to you then. Get her done.
Get her done.
All right. So who inspires you to ride on the days that you're like, I don't think I'm going to go out today? Who can you either think about or we'll call you on the phone and say, no, we're going to ride today. Let's go.
The interesting thing is I am my own inspiration. That probably sounds very...
I would not expect anything else, to be honest with you.
I'm just so... dedicated isn't even the word to it. I'm just... Some invisible person, I guess, would be my inspiration because I'm out there in my head by myself doing my own thing most of the time. It's kind of the exception that I ride with other people. But I'm the one saying, you know what, I need to get out there for me, and I need to get out there and put some miles down, feel some wind, which sounds super kitschy, but that's the right answer. There are people that I aspire to be like, but that's not the motivation for me to ride. Those are two different things for me.
Okay. So you kind of touched on this. Would you rather a solo ride or a group ride?
I do not play favorites when it comes to bikes or styles of riding. They're just different. So there are definitely times when I do not want to ride with other people. I don't want to be responsible for someone else's entertainment or for their safety. But it's not that I don't like group riding. It's just I have to be mentally prepared for it, riding with the right people. It's obviously way easier for me to ride with a group when it has to do with throttle because there's more of a camaraderie there, more of a community aspect with throttle or with the Litas. But if I'm just riding just like socially, I'd prefer it to be 5 or less people or by myself. So there's just a time and a place type of thing when it comes to riding in a group.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I'd rather have a small group where we can, and we spoke about this before, I'd rather have a small group where in case we decide to run to, okay, so like you and Dylan were talking about, I think it was last night, if you decide to go out to a restaurant, if there's 20 of you, you can't decide halfway there, you're going to stop and go somewhere else. If there's 3 or 4 of you, you can go, you know what, maybe we'll go to this other place.
And everything I do is too chaotic to be not super, if there's any more than 5 people involved, it has to be like an itinerary. Because if I have any amount of room to like veer off of that, we're exploring. And if you're not ready to explore, go your own way. Because we're going on an adventure, whether you like it or not. So
and that's why you're on my apocalypse team. Let's kill some shit. And find some mushrooms on the way.
Look, we're going to have some fun.
Yes. All right. And speaking of, I bet this Scram is probably the perfect zombie apocalypse vehicle.
Okay. I am going to disagree with that only because I think the Himalayan is, and it's the big differences between those two bikes that make the difference. The Scram is a great bike. It has an awesome throttle body, handles, it's very nimble. So in that aspect, it would be a good apocalypse bike. However, that 21-inch front wheel on the Himalayan makes all the difference for off-roading, in my opinion. So that if you need to go off-road, it just is a more comfortable ride. And it's already more equipped to just strap shit on it. Oh, can I say that on your channel?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You can just strap more shit.
I was in the Navy. I'm a sailor. I mean...
I know, but I don't know if you're trying to check the family-friendly box on your YouTube channel or not.
I cuss like a well-educated sailor.
Oh, I know you. I just don't know what I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, as long as we don't break into really crazy stuff, it's fine.
As long as I don't use the full repertoire of my vocabulary, we're fine.
I did check the box for not suitable for children, so we're safe. We're not going to...
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. So anyway, the actual apocalypse bike is the Himalayan, but a Scram will do in a pinch.
Okay. So it depends if you're actually trying to go out on a scavenging mission or you're just trying to dodge zombies.
Honestly, I have done more gravel and camping roads on the Sportster than I've done on the Himalayan at this point. So
but you did put a lift on it, you said, right?
The tank is lifted.
The tank is lifted, okay.
Yeah, so it's still a low. It's the XL custom low. So the seat's like 26 inches or something. So my ground clearance is pretty low. So the Himalayan would definitely be better for that. But, I mean, I can handle the Sportster and the Lowrider, both of them on gravel, really with no problem. Fully loaded down with camping gear, so.
Yeah, and as so my pillion says, go get pie. All the good pie shops are down gravel roads. Everybody knows that. That's where all the mom and pop stuff is and the Amish stuff. So,
speaking of pie, my friend heard our throttle live stream the other day, and she was like, "I'm sorry, I can become your best friend by giving you food." I was like, "Yes,
no.
bring me
good
food.
Only good food.
Good food.
I heard that part.
Dry Dutch apple pie, warm, homemade vanilla bean ice cream on top. Come at me with that. We're best friends for life." Are you taking notes?
I am so hungry now. Oh.
Oh, I'm starving. I am starving. So we're just going to talk about food a lot.
Yes, vanilla bean is one of my favorite ice creams.
I'm really glad to hear that about you because a lot of people think that you have to have some complicated moose track shit. No, a good vanilla bean ice cream, better than any flavor out there.
Yep.
Hands down.
Hey, okay, let's get off the path here. What are your favorite ice creams?
My favorite ice cream is a vanilla bean ice cream.
Okay.
I'm serious. Like a good sweet cream, vanilla cream.
Yep. I think the more stuff you put into it, the more you... With a few
You're covering up the flavor.
Yeah.
You're covering up the flavor. The flavor of the ice cream should be the shining star.
Totally agree.
Honestly, my backcountry rock salt ice cream is my favorite. So not really good vanilla bean, but I just like making ice cream in the woods.
Oh, you mean like on an actual hand cranked rock salt?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't do a hand crank. I use a jar, and you just have to like shake it around and roll it around for an hour, and then you get ice cream. Have you ever made it that way?
Well, funny you should
like
say
in
that.
the woods.
So I back in my younger days, and I'm talking like a year or so ago, I got into Irish coffees.
Whoa.
No, probably. I tripped across this recipe on, I think it was on the Black Rifle Coffee Company website, about homemade Irish coffee. And they took half and half cream, skim milk, maple syrup, and sugar, put it in a jar, in a frozen jar, shook it up, put it in the icebox, take it out every about 5 minutes, shake it up, put it back in again. So I kind of improved on that. I actually got a frother, an actual whisk frother. It would actually whisk it up instead of shaking it. Whisk it up till it was about 4 or 5 times the volume, put it in the freezer and freeze it, and it came out as ice cream.
Okay, so one step I would give you is to get a box of rock salt. They make ice cream rock salt, but regular rock salt will work, and put that in the ice. And then put the frozen jar, inside of a smaller, well, I messed up my proportions. Put a small frozen jar with your ice cream ingredients inside a bigger jar with the ice and the rock salt, because that'll lower the temperature of the ice even more.
Nice.
And then it'll freeze faster, so you don't have to do it for as long.
Got it. Taking notes. Anyway,
I usually do it like a bag, but a jar works fine.
Yes, my wife.
But that's how you can make. That's how you can make ice cream when you're out camping. Is my point.
Yes.
That's what I can get you, is how to survive in the apocalypse and still have the finer things in life.
Ice cream. My wife does point out I do say icebox. Yes, I am from the south. From the south, Nicole. Way far south.
Something tells me that Nicole isn't vanilla herself. Thank you, I guess.
You are vanilla. Jeez.
Look, I've been called wholesome way too much in the last couple of months, so... I mean, you've seen me in my fuck shit up era, so some people just think they know what they're getting, I guess.
Yes, I'd still rather have you on my zombie team. Whether we're zombies or zombie fighters, you're on my team.
Yeah.
All right,
and how I'll really know if you're from the South. What do you call a carbonated beverage?
Coke.
So South.
Everything's
I was
soda.
expecting you to say soda, but you said Coke.
Coke.
It's
yeah.
pop, and I will die on that hill too.
Yeah, well, that's because you're from the more northern states.
The more northern states. Across the lake from us is Canada.
Yeah. But
Sir.
you gotta swim a lake to get to it, so yeah.
And it's a good lake too.
It is a good lake.
Next question, sir.
Okay, next on. So what is your favorite moto meetup? Well, we're just putting some time down. So I know you go to a lot of moto meetups. You go to big ones and you go to some kind of impromptu ones with your leaders groups. What's your favorite one that happens periodically? Let's say every year, every couple of years.
Okay, so periodically to me means something different than annually. So if I was going to go with periodically, I really like this local meetup that's the second and fourth Tuesday of the month here in Columbus, which is the Euro Bike Night. It's a pretty low-key, chill bike night. But an annual meetup that I like is to go to New York for Bro, which is Babes Ride Out. So that's probably my favorite, hands down, motorcycle-related meetup yet. I have not been to West. There's like a West Coast in California that I have not been to yet, but Bro would be top of the list for an annual trip.
So Colleen, Skittles Me Diddle, is asking if you're coming to the Forgotten Angels campout. So we've been badgering you on this. So
not the March one.
Yeah.
I know I teased that previously in a previous live stream.
Yeah.
But plans have changed.
As they do.
As they do. So March is not going to happen, but October might. I'm not sure yet.
But your bike is coming to the March one.
Yes,
No
one of my
spoilers.
bikes.
No spoilers.
One of my bikes is making its way down to Forgotten Angels in March, but not me with it.
I did tell that individual, since you couldn't make it, we were going to cover it in stickers and send it back.
If you put a sticker on that bike, I'll be making it to Forgotten Angels.
Hell yeah. I'm going to get you there one way or another. If that's how it has to happen, that's fine.
Because I'm going to fight you if you put a sticker on my bike. You specifically. I now have had out of your mouth the words, I'm going to put a sticker on your bike.
If that's what it takes to get you there, I think it's worth taking an ass whipping.
Oh, is this coercion? Am I being coerced?
Yes.
How bad do you guys want me to go down there?
I want you to go down there bad. Listen, you haven't been there. Chase just came in. Chase is there. Juice is in. Pillion's here.
Strangling
Skills is here.
Speed.
If once you come to this thing, it elevates whatever kind of friendship you think you had before. This elevates it so much higher because it's.
I don't know. You guys absorbed me into the group without even having attended, so I can only imagine what kind of hellion fucking mischief we would start if you actually had me there.
Would actually sing a lot of karaoke, honestly.
You can miss me with all that, but everything else. Got it.
It's so much fun, and I can't explain to you how cool it is, but it is absolutely so cool. But
well, like I said, I've been well received into the fold of people who have bonded over being there.
Because you would fit in so well. I mean, you're literally just...
For the audience, what you're implying is that I would fit in with a bunch of rabble-rousers.
I would never...
And miscreants.
I would never...
Is that what I'm hearing?
Out loud. What?
Born ruffian, that's all.
Yeah, you're like a mixture of all my favorite friends from the camp out. So, I mean... And then you're your own entity, so it's like you'd fit right in.
Well, you are the one person in that group who has in person seen me about to fight a dude, and I'm a small, so just think about that for what you're inviting me to.
I wasn't going to mention that tonight, but yeah. Again, I want you on my zombie apocalypse fight team. We're taking them out.
I mean, we're just going to start shit, to be honest.
Yeah. Let's do it.
And Aaron's not even here to talk about quarry camp out and the weird shit from that camp. I mean, that's the connection I have to y'all from down there, is that at least Aaron knows when I'm off my leash what happens.
Yeah, and we only have to. Speaking of, we only have to arm you with a leash, because you're apparently pretty awesome with a leash. Or was that a ratchet strap, lifting strap?
That was a ratchet strap.
It was a ratchet strap, yeah.
Yeah. I make do with what I've got within reach. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's, again, you're on my zombie apocalypse team. That's what we're all about. Scavenging to kill. All right. Hey. So Jack Barstow came in. Bueller.
One of us.
We've got a good crowd coming in tonight.
All right. I like that. But did you ride?
But did you
die?
But did you die?
But did you die? Nah.
What is the stupidest thing you have ever done on a bike?
I am not at liberty to say no. The stupidest thing I've ever done on a bike was a week with my license. I panic braked almost into a car and crashed. Trying to not get hit by a car.
License.
Yeah. So I think that's why my riding, now I just literally lean into it, because I had my license for a week and went down. I wasn't going very fast, but I did almost get hit by a car, and I landed in someone's front yard essentially and got my first accident out of the way pretty quick. I didn't get hurt or anything like that, but like that was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done.
So what was your first bike?
My first bike that like belonged to me?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a 1975 Honda CB360, and if Charlie is watching, I will buy it back in a minute. Her name is Bernadette, and I know where she lives. And I sold it to a kid in Cleveland, and would buy it back in a minute. Absolutely.
Oh, I would too. My first bike was a Suzuki 90. Didn't even have a headlight. And thinking back on all the good times I had on that bike, if I had the chance to get that bike again, and I actually painted it with a brush and a can of latex blue paint. I'm talking the bluest Suzuki blue you could probably find.
Did you just say brush?
I was
You
10.
painted it with a brush?
I was 10. I have a reason. I have excuses.
I painted it with a brush for reasons.
I have all the excuses. Well,
Idiocracy, was that the reason?
Because that's all I had. So my dad used to go to these flea markets, and he would buy things. And if you've never been to a flea market auction, some of these things that go up for sale are ridiculous, and people just want to get rid of them. Like old people bringing stuff up just to get it out of their garage because they know they can get $10-20 for it. So there was this Suzuki 90 that the engine was locked up on that went for, I think, for $20.
Did you know the engine was locked up?
Not at the time.
When you bought it? Ah.
But it was a motorcycle, and it was $20. So I get it home.
That's like saying I got a free horse.
Well, I grew up, and it was dead. I have a good joke about that. Anyway.
All the cost comes to keeping it alive.
No, I have a really good joke about that, but I'll tell it to you later. So I get it home, and growing up a farm kid, I knew how to work on small engines. So I filled the heads full of diesel, left them overnight, went out the next day, took a 2-foot breakover bar, put it on the crank, and turned it over, broke it loose.
Okay.
And pulled the spark plug out and found out that they put some weird ass spark plug that it just beat the hell out of it. Big long shanked spark plug. So I put the right spark plug in it and I ran it
That's
for
what she
2
said?
years. So I put a long shank in it. It was too big. It bent the insides. And blew the bottom out of that piston. I'm telling you.
And Aaron's not here.
Aaron's not here. But anyway, so it was all crusty white and the varnish was rusted on it. So I had a friend who said, hey, I have a friend who paints cars. I'll bring you over a pint of paint. So he brings over this paint in a little jar, and I had no way to put it on because, spray gun, what's that? So I got out there with a paintbrush and I painted the tank, painted the fenders, and it was just enough to paint everything. Don't laugh at me, Nicole.
Look,
it was.
I'm laughing at you so hard.
It was beautiful. It was. I wish. Yeah.
There are certain things that I would make do with. Brushing on paint on a tank is not one of them.
When you're 10, it's an awesome idea. It makes so much sense.
I'll give you that pass. Okay, fine. All
right. Follow up. What is your scariest moment on a bike?
I've had quite a few, honestly. I'm sure you and I are going to talk about this later, but the reason why I think we bonded so quickly is the rain aspect of our riding experience. Mm-hmm. So one of the scariest things that I've ever experienced is not this past year, but the year before, 7% grade in eastern Pennsylvania in the mountains, pouring down rain, absolutely pouring down rain, and my brakes go out on my bike. And I'm riding with 2 other people, Beth and Gina.
I remember that.
I have it on video where my brakes just go out. And I pull over on the side of the freeway. Thankfully, I still had my handbrake. And I mean, we are already like on edge because it is pouring down rain. Semis are just going 80 miles an hour past us you can't really see it on the video because the GoPro levels everything out. So it makes really hilly and really steep things look less steep. But we're going down like I was riding my brake for a reason. And it just scared the absolute Jesus out of me. We pull on the side of the road and my brakes are just completely, they'd been going out for a while and I should have stopped way earlier, but I just didn't want to slow us down. We were already behind and we were late for something and I just didn't want to stop. So we stopped on the side of the road and my brakes were completely gone. My foot brake was nothing. And right as I'm like getting off my bike, you can kind of see it in the video, but this semi is like really close on the right lane. And I'm trying to like gesticulate to Beth and Gina that I have no brake. And I just swing my arm out and a semi just goes really fast and almost hits my arm. I'm just like, today's the day I die. And we're out in kind of the middle of nowhere. And I had to ride slowly, very slowly to the next town for any ability to work on this bike. So we pull up to a gas station and I called Dylan to be like, hey, my brakes are out. What the hell do I do? And so I have a full toolkit, which is soaking wet because it's been raining for 4 hours. And I took my brake fluid reservoir off just to see if I was leaking. Nothing was leaking. My damn linkage from my brake. So Harley like routes it underneath and behind the swing arm essentially. And every single connection point was loose and it had rattled off. That's why it was like continuously going out instead of just completely gone all at once. Each linkage had loosened and the final linkage of it had rattled one thread left. I would have completely lost my brake pedal had I not stopped. So we finally got somewhere where I could tighten it up and tightened as many linkages as I could reach with the tools that I had. And it lasted me the rest of the weekend. I rode all the way home that way on the way back.
I remember that. I remember seeing that on your video and on Beth's.
Yeah. I was worried that I was going to be stuck on the side of middle of nowhere, eastern Pennsylvania in the hills, in the sticks on the side of we hadn't passed anything for a long time, like any discernible building or anything. And I was just like, well, this is where I die, and y'all can just keep going. Just leave me here. Home. It's fine. It's fine. And then we ended up being stopped at a gas station that was not our plan. I like to route our stops in a Flying J or a Love's or something that's like, people will know what I'm talking about when I say we're at this intersection or whatever. We were at a place that I was like, my GPS was like, nah, I'm not here with you. I don't know you. I don't know her. So, I mean, when I say we were in the middle of nowhere, no freaking idea where we were. As far as I can recall, I was also freaking out because I'm like, I can be told how to do things mechanically. But I was also like, we've been riding in the rain for 4 hours. I'm soaking wet, like head to toe wet, and no brakes. So it's a good time.
Your brain. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. I think that's something that this past year with the bigger group of leaders that went, they pretty much said, like half of them were like, the second to last stop, they were like, if we weren't with a group, we would have turned back hours ago. And it's like, well, groupthink, we'll take that and just keep going. But it rained worse this past year than it did the year before. So if that had happened and my brakes went out, we would have been bad news bears on that one for sure.
Luckily, you survived.
Yeah.
Yay.
And then got a flat tire on the way home.
Yeah. You guys talked about it last night, but anytime I see somebody with spokes, it's the first thing. And it's probably because I've spent 35 years on motorcycles, actually a little more. But spokes to me means flat. And in the back of my mind, it always means flat.
Well, I think we finally figured out, having gotten a flat tire both the last 2 years on the way home, that it's not the spokes necessarily. It's that can you?
My dog.
Dog.
It must be the UPS guy. She hates the UPS. A kidnapper could come to the door. Somebody could kick the door in, come in and steal everything. And she'd just look at him like, oh, can I hug you? Can I lick you? UPS man brings us thousands of dollars worth of stuff, and she wants to kill him every time. I don't know why.
Capitalism, man.
Yeah, she's a communist.
No, so I got a flat tire on my way back through an even more remote part of eastern Pennsylvania this past year, while I was actually riding. So my flat tire the year before, I came out to a flat tire at a gas station, so I wasn't moving when it went totally flat. This past year, it went flat while I was going 80 miles an hour on the freeway with semis going past me. And a semi was trying to pass me on the right when I figured out that I had a flat tire and had to wobble my way over to the side of the road. Again, ridiculous grade, and probably almost dumped it a couple of times trying to get over to the side of the road. So what I figured out is that the Shinko 712s that I had on my bike with tubes, because they're a tube and tubeless type, can't handle the way I ride, which is long distances in the heat. So it sheared off the valve stem.
Nice.
And that's what ended up happening. So now it's not that it didn't have anything to do with the spokes. It had to do with those tires combined with tubes in a spoke wheel. Can't handle 200 miles at a time in 90-degree weather the way I ride. So
yeah, I have found that tubeless tires are a lot more forgiving on things like air pressure.
I'm religious about that. Check it every time, multiple times. If I stop, forget. I'm the worrier. If you wonder where my name comes from, I won't not do something, but I will worry about it the whole time. So I'm not going to let it keep me from doing something I want to do. But if you're wondering if I'm having an anxiety attack, just yes. Yes, I am.
Check the dog really quick. I'll be right back.
Oh no, you're going to leave me by... See? What the hell? So I'm just going to keep talking because this is live, Mike. And if he doesn't come back with the bike, everyone should be in the chat chanting for the dog. I don't know the dog's name, but if I don't get to see the dog, I will be upset, especially since he left me by myself. But yeah, I'm looking... Aaron will be watching it later, I'm sure. Creamsicle. I'm going to read some people from the chat. I don't know what any of those emojis are supposed to be. Yeah, thanks, Juice.
Okay, sorry about that.
We are all mad at you.
Where'd you go? There you are.
We're all mad at you.
Yeah, be mad at the dog. Dog's fault.
Nope. Do not blame her. I'm sure she is an absolute peach. Do not blame the dog.
She absolutely is. She weighs about 80
You know
pounds.
how I feel about dogs and what I will do for a dog.
I keep saying,
Sir.
So every morning when I wake up, I'm crooked because she's pushed me to one side of the bed and my wife to the other side of the bed. I'm like, that's it. She's never sleeping in the bed again. And a short 16 hours later, she's right back in the bed. So,
Is her name Adele?
her name is Adele. Yes. Very funny story. So she's a shelter dog. She's actually was a rescue. We rescued her. And the reason they call her Adele was because the guy that had her, not to make you mad, but the guy basically had a purebred dog. It got out, got pregnated, came back, and had mixed puppies. He just put them all out in a box on the porch and said, they can die for all I care.
Do you know where he lives?
I wanted to find out where he lives.
I'm asking for myself.
The rescuer would not give... Oh, I asked. The rescuer would not give us the address. So, anyway, this little ball of fur was literally, I don't know, this big when we got her. And she almost died, but they gave her an IV. And when they gave her an IV, she started singing. So they gave her, in the shelter, they called her Adele. Because she was singing in this high-pitched little voice. So that's how she became Adele. But yeah, she was very small, little tiny dog. And my wife's like, yeah, she'll probably never get over 20 pounds. And within like a week, her feet were like that big around. And I'm like, no, she's going to be a big dog.
Yep.
So she is...
Is she big?
She's a blue heeler lab mix. She weighs about 85 pounds.
So the day I picked up my dog from the shelter, she was a month old, but I didn't know that. The shelter thought she was 4 months old. And so she was about 12 pounds. And they're like, yeah, she's 4 months old. She's not going to get any bigger than 30 pounds. I took her to the vet the next day because she had just been spayed the day before. And they were like, how old did they say this dog was? Oh, like 4 months. I'm like, nope, she is no more than 4 weeks. And she's going to be 100 pounds. I was like, I'm sorry. What? And she was supposed to be like some boxer mix. She is the muddiest mutt I have ever met. And I have no idea what she is. But she's like 65 pounds. She's settled about 65 pounds. And she barks decently enough, but she didn't bark for the first year until the neighbor's dog taught her how to bark. So I was like, this is just a weird-ass dog. I have no idea what she is. So shelter dogs are the best.
She only barks at the UPS guy. That's it. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's... I do know what it is. When we first got her, she was afraid of boxes. Because she was thrown in a box and left for a week.
Just like cardboard boxes. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I think she knows that the UPS guy brings boxes, and that's bullshit. So I think she wants to kill him. No more boxes. Once they're in the house and she finds that there's stuff in them, she's fine. It kind of got her over when they started bringing so she gets special dog food, and so does the cat, little spoiled brats. So once they start bringing the dog food in boxes, I think that's...
I was going to say
okay
that...
now.
Yeah,
So,
that might help.
but she still hates the UPS guy. I don't know why. She doesn't mind the boxes, just hates him. I don't know. I don't get it. But anyway. Oh, puppies. Yes, I love puppies.
I feel like you had like 50 million more questions on your list, and I prepared for all of them. So
Okay, well, let's roll through. I am so sorry. We were talking about dogs and ice cream. I mean, come on.
I told you one of us has to keep us on topic, and it's not going to be you.
All right, here we go. Back on track here. What has been your favorite part of riding?
It's such a cliche answer, but I love the freedom of it. Is that I can just do so much more with a motorcycle than you can do with a car. And in my experience with it, I just feel like I can turn my brain off a lot more than when I'm driving a car, and I can enjoy the ride there. Like, I wouldn't be a good Midwesterner if I didn't say like, oh, a 10-hour drive, that's nothing. But really on a motorcycle, that really is nothing. Like going 100 miles to go get coffee on a motorcycle, the whole thing is enjoyable, not just the destination. So that's my favorite thing, is that it kind of expands the amount of enjoyability for anything that I'm doing. Like just a short jaunt across town to go meet someone, I'm enjoying the actual ride as well. So I just like having the freedom of it.
I get it. I hate driving to work in a car is stupid, but driving to work on a
That
motorcycle
is dumb. You shouldn't do that.
fine.
Yeah.
Going on a motorcycle, and normally, again, things that kind of coerce you to ride. Everyone expects me to ride the bike all the time, especially once they know I have a YouTube channel and they know the name is Randy Rider. There's no excuse to not ride, so they're like, I gotta ride every day. But I love riding every day. The ride to work on the motorcycle seems like it takes about 15 minutes. The ride to work in a car seems like it takes about an hour.
Yeah, I have no concept of time on a motorcycle. In general, I'm really bad at that anyway. But when someone's like, it takes you 2 days to get to New York on a motorcycle, I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, it does. But it doesn't feel like it does. You get there and you're just like,
awesome days.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's 2 awesome days. Unless it's pouring down rain, which, unfortunately, for everyone who's watching, if you ever ride with me or Rainy, it's going to rain.
Somebody
gonna rain on
asked
you.
the other day, if me and you rode together, would it negate each other and we'd have a perfect riding day, or would it rain the whole time? And I said, the earth will crack open and will swallow us whole in accordance with the prophecy, as was foretold by the fathers. It's going to happen.
That, I mean, it could go either way. It could be the most beautiful sunshiny day. Unicorns will prove to exist. I don't know. Or we could start the apocalypse together.
And then fight our
Just
way out
have to
of it.
risk it.
We got to do this.
You just have to risk it.
Just where we can fight in the apocalypse, I'm willing to do it. Let's just do it.
I need to be Daryl, and I just need to be in some sort of apocalypse. It's a life goal of mine.
I have lots of swords.
Please.
I can be Michonne. I can do this.
You know, I caught a snake with a sword once.
I have lots of swords. You must come visit.
All I'm going to say, it's a story for another time, but I caught a snake with a sword and put it in the back of a Prius and ate it later. If you want to figure out how that goes.
I'm not touching that one. Not at all.
Like I said, it's a story for another time.
Okay, we'll talk
Most people
later.
get weirded out by it.
Nope. No, I've ate snake before. So, been a country
It's all
boy.
right.
You're a Midwesterner.
It's too much-
You're probably the same. There's things I've eaten.
It was in Alabama.
Okay. There's things
that
I've
helps.
eaten because they were there at the time. And it's not like
That's what she said.
Oh, you. I love you so much. But, yeah, it's not like I would go, you know what I think I need? Let's go get a possum, because I'm hungry for possum. It's not like one of those
I have
things.
never had possum,
Was
but I
it-
have had guinea pig, and I feel like they would be similar.
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've had lots of so I was in the Navy for 20 years, been around South America, Asia, went to Australia once. I've been to some weird places, and I stopped asking what things were because I got tired of finding out.
Yeah,
it. So,
it wouldn't mess
just
me
quit
up at all
asking.
for someone just to put a plate of food in front of me. If it tastes good, it could be whatever it is.
Well, I was good
don't really
until
care.
I ate sloth, and I couldn't place the meat, and I was like, "What is this?"
Oh,
and the guy
no.
is trying to explain it, and I couldn't get it, and he finally goes, and I go, "Oh, never mind."
You might have found the one animal I would refuse to
That's
eat.
the only time I've ever said, "You know what? I'm done. I'm done eating."
Sloths are my favorite. No. Okay.
Um,
I wouldn't eat a sloth.
I would think I don't know.
I'd eat a dog before I'd eat a sloth.
The sloths are cute, but they're also look kind of shifty, like they're straight from hell. They're both. So I'm like,
But cute.
yeah, cute, but will drag you to hell with those clawed
Yep.
fingers. Just
Yep.
Anyway, I've seen
And
too
they
many
just have
sloth
this-
memes, I think.
I have this somebody gave me a birthday card last year that said, "Sorry, I'm so slow." And it has a cute sloth on it, hangs up in my office, and everyone points it out when they're in there, and they're just like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's my reminder that cute ass animal could kill you." And it would be so slow, and you'd be like, "Oh, it's so cute. Oh, it's killing me." But
What's
it's
that
so
pressure?
cute.
Oh, it's in my jugular. Ow. Okay, what's next? What is the most frustrating part of riding for you? Gosh, Nicole, quit bringing us down the sidelines. Keep us on track here. Let's go.
What's the most frustrating thing for me? For me or about riding? Because it's a two-way street with that answer.
About riding for you.
I'm trying to decide if I want to go with a PC answer for this or like my real answer.
Your real answer.
The most frustrating thing for me is constantly having to prove my right to be in the sport, which I feel like comes from a lot of different angles from both men and women. Just having to prove that like you ride a big enough bike or that you're not riding a big bike to prove anything. What makes you a rider, or walking out of a gas station, someone saying, "Oh, I was expecting that to be a man." Like the frustrating thing is I just want it to be, not me being like, "Oh, you're just doing it to show off." No, this is literally my life. It's not a hobby. It's my whole ass life. And I would love for that to not have to be something that's questioned constantly.
I'm going to throw that in the realm of, one of these, the Academy Awards isn't voted by anybody except people that are actually in the Academy. Because only people in the Academy understand what it's like to work that hard for something that you're on the screen for only maybe less than 2 hours for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to throw that into the realm of motorcycling. I get the people that judge me hardest on riding a Sportster and on riding a BMW is people who either don't ride at all or rarely ride. The most, oh man, I thought Sportsters were a girl bike. Those comments come from people who don't even ride, or people who literally ride maybe 2 weeks out of a year. And so I instantly just throw their comments right out the door, because your literal real peers, not just people on motorcycles, your real peers are the only people that can actually judge you about what you do on a motorcycle. And that's just how I look at it.
And I get all that, but people ask me all the time, "Why'd you stop making YouTube videos?" It's because people started watching them. I was having a grand old time by myself, putting videos out to no one for a long time. And then people started watching them, and I was like, this isn't fun anymore. If people are just constantly going to be critiquing every single thing that I do. And co-owning a business where motorcycling is my life. Like, I don't get it as much anymore because I think people are figuring out that I'm not just the merch girl, but like, I don't know. I was moving bikes around the other day and someone's like, "Oh, you look like you know what you're doing." I'm sorry. Did those words just come out of your face? You look like you know what you're doing. Yeah, a little. And Tony comes around the corner and he was like, "Yeah, because she owns this." I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you, Tony. I have my little, pit bull in the back who's just, I think he gets a little bit of like sadistic pleasure out of it to be like, just so you know.
That would be fun. I would hang around out there just where I could do that. That would honestly be awesome.
And I just want literally no one to point it out or notice it. But at this point, I've gotten enough encouragement to be like, okay, yeah, this is what I do for a living. But I'd love to not have to point that out to be legitimate either.
And I think that's the.
And I feel like there's a lot of. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
you go ahead.
No, you good.
You go ahead. I just feel like the reason I care at all for anyone to know that I co-own a business or do YouTube or have any kind of like social media presence is because I do want girls and other women to not walk into the shop, which is what really started this for me, walking in the shop with their significant other and say, "Oh, I had no idea I could do this," or "It never occurred to me that I could do this." I don't want that to be a revelation. I want it to be the default. "Oh, you want to do it?" Or "You have an interest in this?" It's just as second nature as it would be to anyone else. And we are definitely not there yet. So that's the only reason why I do any of the social media at all, besides it being my job. So I'd love for that to not be such a weird thing for me to have to work on for myself, to work up the courage to do.
As Shager used to say, do the abnormal until it looks normal and then move on. And then nobody will even think twice about it.
One more time?
Do the abnormal until it looks normal and then move on.
Well, awkward constantly? When does that, is there like some level that you reach where it just stops becoming awkward?
Yeah, I think once people, okay, and I've even seen it just in the past couple of years. Do you remember, I don't know if you watched Shea Tree and Shay Lacey very much.
Yeah.
But when she first started riding, she was very awkward on it. And she dropped the bike a lot, but she didn't give up. She kept going. Now she can jump on any bike, huge bikes, and just haul ass on them. And now she makes jokes about falling over all the time because now she doesn't fall over all the time. So now it's just a normal thing. It's no big deal. I remember she was talking about the first time she went into Birch. They were like, "Are you sure you can ride this bike?" And she's like, "I think I can." Now she's like, "Yeah, back up. This is my bike." And didn't even ask her now because now she just jumps on it and rides. So it's kind of become normal to see her on a bike. And I think eventually, you're mentioning one time about, your favorite color and how dumb it would be to get a bike in that color. But I know a girl who rides, and she's a lawyer. She rides all over the place. She has a pink bike. I know two of them. One of them they're both from Britain.
Were you avoiding mentioning that my favorite color is pink?
I didn't, I don't want to rub it in too much. I didn't know if you wanted that to come out. But I think it's a great thing.
I love that you know that about me in the first place.
I'm your friend.
But yes.
Yes. So, yeah. I do, and literally, I do not know.
It's not a well-known thing, but it's out there now.
I don't know as many anime references as you do, so you got me beat on that. But you're a very well-rounded chick. I mean, that's just how it is. So never be ashamed of the things that make you who you are.
Oh, thanks for the therapy session. I needed that today.
I'm here every Saturday and Sunday. But,
yeah. It's Whiskey Chaser tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow will be Whiskey Chaser. Yep, he's in the. Oh, bye, Colleen. Sorry, I didn't see you moving. I keep not looking down. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to look down, but not look down. So if you're wondering why we're looking down, it's for the chat. It's not at the same place.
Yeah, we keep looking down because we're giving hand signals to each other under the table. But R1 Liz, she's an artist from Britain, and every bike she gets, she paints it pink. So she goes through all these weird bikes. She's gone from Suzuki to a Honda to a BMW. I think she had 2 BMWs now. She started on R1, so she started on a Yamaha, painted it pink, called it Pinky. Then she got a Suzuki GSX 1000, painted it pink. Then she got another Suzuki, painted it pink. And so she loves pink, but she is a badass rider. To watch her ride, she does the Dragon every year, these Dragon campouts where you go out the worst weekend of the year in Britain, in Wales, and you camp out in the rain all weekend long. She just finished one. She did one, and username Kate were there together this time. And literally, they're the only women out there, but they're out there roughing it. So earning their cred. I mean, so for next year,
earning their cred.
Or
do they already have it?
They're proving their cred.
Okay.
But things like that makes it acceptable for girls who see that to go, well, I can do the Dragon,
So
I went
to the doctor the other day, and she's like, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Motorcycles." And she said, "You do motorcycles for?" I'm like, "Long story, yes." And she's like, "Well, I was in Florida, and I walked out of a restaurant and saw a bright pink, what I think was a Harley. It probably was a Harley, bright pink motorcycle, but I wasn't sure if it was a woman or not." And I was like, honestly, if it looked really custom, it very well could have been a guy's bike, because I think there's this like level of like super customization that the color doesn't really matter as much, and being flamboyant with a custom bike is fine. But I was like, it probably was a girl's bike. And she was like, she was one of the more recent people where she's like, I just literally never thought that I could ride a motorcycle. I'm like, you absolutely can. And you can have a pink one if you want. I'm all black everything, but I do have a pink helmet. And every once in a while, I'll have someone message me like, you know what? I don't think it was you, but I saw someone with a pink helmet riding around in Columbus. I was like, well, it could have been me. And they're like, we weren't sure. It was a black bike with a pink. Okay. Yeah, that's me. Whoops. So I don't like to be perceived as a girl on a bike all that much, because it's still kind of dangerous. I've had some really weird interactions with people once they figure out I'm by myself and a girl on a motorcycle. But every once in a while I will go to an event and be like, yes, I'm a girl on a motorcycle, so that, a girl there with her parents can see that they can do it too. So that's something I really like about. I'm totally veering off of this question, just so you were wondering what was happening.
You're actually staying right on this question, honestly. So,
but that's one of the things about the Litas that's pretty awesome is groups of women riding around, kind of, I don't know if showing off is the right word, but like a collective of women that are a little bit more formidable when we go out to restaurants and stuff, walking in with helmets and jackets and stuff, and people are like, you guys all rode here. And I think that's one of the things that's really cool about being a girl on a motorcycle is when you're in a big group, you feel a little safer to be like, yes, I'm a girl on a motorcycle. And if you're a girl, you can also be on a motorcycle as well. There's nothing keeping you from doing it except yourself. And there's my philosophy.
And you can keep your femininity while you do it. You do have a member who I see her in skirts and dresses riding the bike. She has leggings on under it, but we wears a dress.
Yeah, we did have to convince her that maybe leggings weren't enough protection, but she does now own riding pants to put underneath her skirts. But I love her. Yes. I'm just going to out her right now. Her name is Nancy, and I want to be her when I grow up, to be completely honest with you. She is so cool. And I love that people know that about her when they just see her. We're just like, Nancy, everyone wants to be you. I want to be you when I grow up. So, that's what's so great is that you could line particularly the Columbus Litas up and you would just have someone of every
Are you there?
Are we dead?
I think are alive again.
Are we here?
I think we are.
I have no idea how long I was talking.
That was crazy. I think it was only like 15 seconds, but yeah, I'm not sure. Something went boom outside, and all of a sudden,
Oh, like where you are?
Yeah, that was weird.
I was making philosophical declarations about motorcycling.
This is one of the things like Forrest Gump, the best part of his speech.
No one's listening, and now they're just like, blah, 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 just stop.
That's all I have to say about that.
And that is all I have to say about that.
No, it was very weird. Okay, hey, we're back. I'm surprised we didn't actually lose the connection. We're rolling on YouTube again. YouTube's back up too. Excellent.
Okay, I have no idea how much I got through, but essentially I think that that's really what my favorite thing about motorcycling is that you have this core ideology of riding, and then if you're with the right people, which I think the group of people I've found with the Litas and lots of women have found with their branches of Litas in their cities, is the only thing that matters is that you share that core desire to ride. And it doesn't matter, as long as you're with the right people, it doesn't matter how long you've been riding, what you ride, if you're feminine or not, or any of those kind of things. It's just, we all share the same basic desire to ride, and you don't have to worry about all the other stuff. So that's my spiel.
That's what she said. She did. She just said it. I heard her.
That is what I said.
All right. So, being a young entrepreneuring female in the motorcycling world, what are your plans for the year? What rides you got? Now, you also have the entrepreneurial side of this. You have a shipment coming in, I hear. So, what are your plans for the year?
There's a lot to bounce around there. So the shipment I am assuming you're alluding to is that, well, let me actually back up because I didn't introduce the other part of this. We talked about me a lot, but so I am one of 3 owners of Throttle Company Vintage Motorcycles in Columbus, Ohio, and we deal in Royal Enfields, Moto Guzzi, and vintage motorcycles. And the shipment that you're referring to is the Moto Guzzi V100 Mandello, which is like a exceptionally large jump in technology for Moto Guzzi, coming from the 850, the V85, the V7, and the V9, which we have now, is the only engine that existed for the last 2 years, I believe, until this V100 Mandello is coming like the end of next week. So it has like adaptive aerodynamics and just some crazy technology that is way above my brain to understand. But we've never seen them in person, so I can't pass any judgment on them until they arrive. But they're coming next week, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm just excited because it has an anchor on it. So I mean,
so it is there. All the colors are naval related.
The Naval Aviation.
Look, don't expect me to pronounce any of those. Even knowing Italian relatively easy, my pronunciations are horrible. But yeah, all the colors are based off of, I believe, naval ships, but like in Italian. So, nah.
I was excited because it had an anchor on it. 20 years in the Navy, just throw that out there. It looks like a little ship.
I think I've had this question asked. A lot of people are like, why is a lot of Moto Guzzi stuff police or military related? And it's like, yeah, but it's police or military related in Italy. So it's not quite the same, like, stronghold on the concepts. They just, like the police edition is the Italian police escort edition. It's not like American police edition.
Yeah.
So they look a little different. They're kind of fancier than police escort vehicles would be here. But the other answer to your questions were what kind of events we have going on. So our season here in the north starts in April, with one exception is the Springtide Ride, which is the first day of spring -1, because the first day of spring is on a Monday. So on March 19th, we will have a spring ride, whether it's 20 degrees or 80 degrees, which here in Ohio, you could have both in the same day. So we're not really sure what kind of weather we're going to get for that, but I lead it, and for some reason, people follow me. So every time I have people standing around me for the pre-ride breakdown, I'm just like, why do you fools let me lead you? Why do you do that? It blows my mind every time. But in April starts the Kickstands and Coffee every Saturday morning. And then the second Friday of the month is Kickstands and Coffee. Is the Bike Night series, which starts the second Friday of the month, April through October. So we have those core events that happen. And then in July, and I forget the date off the top of my head, but we have our third anniversary show is in July. I was not ready for there to be the realization that we're on our third anniversary show already.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't have a show our first 2 years that we didn't have a building. So we're going on our 5th year of business, but only our 3rd year in the building. So.
Okay. Juice is asking if I'm going to trade the Sportster for a V100. No. The V100, the cost on that V100 is absolutely ridiculous. So the Sporty might trade for a V85, and I still might have to throw some money at it. That red, white, and blue one, though, that red, white, and blue V85 is so
I was not prepared.
Gorgeous.
I was not prepared to like the red, white, and blue as much as I did, honestly. I thought it would be way too, like, America. But no, the white... America. Fuck yeah. Okay, so the blue just has some iridescence to it that, of course, you will always hear me say this. None of the photographs did it justice, the colors. So the white is more pearlescent, and the iridescence in the blue is just enough to make it not so flat red, white, and blue. So it really, really is a good color combination, and it looks great outside. I don't know where they were photographing them, but usually they use renderings, and I've just never been very pleased with how those photos show up. So I always reserve my judgment for what a new bike or a new color looks like before I see it. And this one actually looks really good. And I'm this close on the edge about whether I'm buying a V85 or not. But I also want a V7. But I also really like the Stone Special, which is a V7. So I'm not sure I need 3 more bikes.
Sure.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
The good thing about owning your shop, though, is you don't have to own them to go, I'm going to take this bike out today and take it for a ride.
And I do.
I'm sure you do.
That's why my answer when people are like, what do you ride? I'm like, I literally ride any of the bikes that are in here. So.
Yes. Yeah. Looking at the ones behind you, some of those look so... And I would own them all for a different reason.
Yes. So people are always want to ask me, which do you like better of your bikes that you own? And I do not play favorites with my children. So don't pin the Himalayan against the lowrider. Don't say the Sportster's still carbureted. Don't say it's bad because it still has a carburetor. No, they are all perfect little angels, and I love them equally. It's the lowrider.
Of course it is.
Just because, I mean, when I'm on the freeway doing the West Virginia Turnpike and the semis are doing 7% grade at 80 miles an hour, I got to get out of the way. So the CCs are worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the Himalayan is really fun to ride. Like, that's a fun bike to ride. The lowrider is my destination bike. So, again, they are just different things. They can't be compared to each other.
And I say that about my 1200. So even though it's literally half the price of the BMW, the Sportster is fun to ride, but it is not a long-distance trip bike. Not now, anyway. But
so
it is still fun to ride. I
have taken 2,000-mile trips on the Sportster, on my Sportster. And I had forward controls on it when I first bought it, but I couldn't really reach them because my legs are short. So I put mid controls on it, and now I'm like, those forward controls might have been worth getting used to on long rides. But it's only not a long-distance bike because the seat is so uncomfortable. But the engine can do it. I mean, I took the Turnpike back last year, and, going 90 miles an hour for 2 hours at a time, it can do it. It's just whether you're comfortable or not. So whether a bike is a long-distance bike or not doesn't have much to do with the bike, in my opinion.
And I think it had a lot of time. So I was going to take that bike. Actually, when I came to see you, I had to go down to Louisiana first. And because I had to take a side trip to see my father down in Baton Rouge, I had to make a fast trip. If I could have taken that bike out and had unlimited time, and I could have done the actual speed limit, I don't think I would have had a problem with that bike. But because I was trying to get down there, do a visit, get back, get up to Ohio, get up to Kentucky, and then take a trip back down, I was trying to hurry. So 85 on the freeway, that bike decided to get angry with me. So, and
yeah,
I had asked it to. I put hard bags on it, and it did not like the hard bags. It did not like them. So, and that added.
I don't like hard bags at all.
Resistance. Yeah, that added to the extra wind. So now I have a CC bar on it, and I got a CC bar bag. It is so smoother to ride. I can open it up. I took it to work the other day. Did the speed limit the whole way. And it was fine.
Sure, it was
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if the Sportster didn't have a sissy bar on it, I couldn't load it down the way that I do. But I'm going to probably put a sissy bar on the lowrider, but I don't need it. I can put a duffel across my saddlebags, and it's totally fine because I know how to pack my shit down. But I had somebody one time ask me, like, how do you keep all your stuff on there? I'm like, lots of proper attachments to things.
Straps.
But I straps.
That's what she said.
That is what she said. Yeah, the speed limit.
Jack is
who's asking? Yeah, how vintage? Are you asking like how vintage is throttle?
I think he's asking how vintage is the bikes in your shop.
We consider vintage 1960 through 1982. If I'm feeling generous, it's 1980 as a hard cutoff if it comes to service. So the exception to that are 1990 and 1989 GB500s because we like them. Yeah. In fact, if you were to ask me what my favorite vintage bike is, I would have a hard time not saying a 1990 GB500, but not a GB400.
Jack had, I don't know if you saw it in any of the videos, but Jack in the last March camp out had the Tetanus Express. It was a 1960, I think it was a 1968 or 1972 Triumph chopper. And yeah, it was very sketchy, but everyone loved riding it. It was like, was
it right side shift?
It was right side shift. I think it had left foot clutch, I think. I was scared to get on it. I ain't even going to lie. It was very sketchy. Every time that he
Wait, left foot? Wait, no, hands would be the same, so your clutch would be the same.
Maybe Jack can, it was the Tetanus Glide. Maybe Jack can, I did not get on it, so that's I don't know where the clutch was. I know it was a right side shift.
So on the right side shift, the hands stay the same. Okay. So your clutch and brake are the same, but your feet are reverse.
Okay. But yeah, every time somebody hit a bump on it, rust would fly off. It was awesome.
Was it a hardtail chopper?
Yes, and it had a. Did it have a girder front end? I think it had a Springer front end.
Oh,
Jackson.
So
out
no
there,
suspension.
Yeah, Jack's out there. He'll
so practically just rattle all your tailbone off.
I think he actually has changed the oil in it since then. Maybe.
So Whiskey is saying clutch is normal, shift is the right side. Yeah. Right. So it was only the feet that were reversed.
Okay. I don't know my Triumphs. Nobody lets me ride their Triumphs.
The suspension was the flex in the frame. Okay, so, I mean, did the seat have any, like a true chop where you have like a tiny little leather seat with no cushion in it, no suspension?
I will send you a picture of it later because I did do actual videos of people riding it.
Small spring rear end, so no suspension.
Yeah.
And if it was the Tetanus Glide, it was probably all rusty, and so the suspension that it did have didn't work.
I believe he bought it, got it out of a garage, maybe a cornfield or something, like just a few days before, and he decided to ride it to the camp out to show it off. He's not answering out in the camp out. He's not in the audience anymore. But yes, it was very very impressive, and he's still riding that bike around. So.
Well, good on him. I'm not a huge fan of hardtail anything, so you wouldn't catch me on that. But I'm starting to think that a chopper might be on my list of bikes I want next.
It's one of those things that's fun to have. It's not very reliable,
practical.
Not very usable, not very practical, but still fun to have.
Like but they look cool as shit. So
it's like a horse.
Yes, like a horse. Yeah.
But it looks so cool.
And you have to have, it needs the farrier way more often than you want. So that's why I think that maybe building it from the ground up, I would be a little bit more reliable. But we've had some bikes that are here in the shop where I'm just like, I wouldn't ride that around the parking lot, let alone down the street or just ride it as my only bike. We've got new riders that come in here that have a bike that I'm like, you have to run and jump onto this to get it to start. So that's a little bit rudimentary for me.
Yeah. Oh, side note, I did find out that I cannot push start my Harley because it has a Prox key.
Oh.
And you cannot push start it. You've got to have a jump start kit on it to get the electronics to fire up, and then you can push start it once you actually get everything fired up. And as far as that goes,
it was a Triumph Trophy 650.
Oh, there's Jack.
We had a mostly stock one of those in the shop for a long time.
66. Now 66, we're clear.
Okay.
Sorry, Jack. I got the years all fucked up. All messed up.
Oh, Juice, I've been to Mama Tried, and that's probably when I started being a convert on the hardtail chopper from the visual standpoint. They definitely look super cool, but look, a good suspension on a modern bike, my ass can't take that either.
That's what she said.
That is what she said. I was already saying that in my head before I finished my own sentence. So I knew you would catch it.
Wow.
But I forgot what I was going to say, but it was something about... Damn it. Thanks, Juice. But I forgot what I was going to say,
something
but I got distracted by the chat as usual.
Tails and your butt hurts.
It was before that.
You had a Triumph in the shop.
Nah, I'm usually really good at this too.
It'll come back to you. Speaking of all of these bikes, if you had a friend in the latest, just finished their MSF course, they rode the shit out of whatever all the popular people say you should ride for a while, and then they're ready to move up to a regular bike that can do their own maintenance on and ride and will be trouble-free, what would you tell them to get?
Well, I would have told them from the beginning, before they ride the shit out of something that someone else told them they should ride, they should absolutely take my advice and get a Meteor from the get. Not buy a junker off Craigslist. Buy a new motorcycle with a warranty, a 3-year warranty, and get a Meteor. Even if I didn't sell those motorcycles, I would still consider them a perfect first bike that you're not going to grow out of too quickly. So the full size, it's a 440 pounds wet motorcycle, but it's a 350. So it like has, you're pushing some weight around, you're feeling the weight of a full size motorcycle. An Interceptor is only 440. The Himalayan is also around that same weight. But you're learning how to move around the weight of a full-size motorcycle without an engine that is going to get you in trouble. But I've absolutely taken a Meteor on the freeway with mostly no problem. If you know how to use your gears to get up to speed on the on-ramp, you'd be fine. So for a first bike, it's a good all-around bike that you're not going to, grow out of too quickly. So I would definitely say the Meteor. If you're taller and you have the long legs, you could start on something like an Interceptor or a V7. But those are the three motorcycles I'd say are good for someone who has just started riding. But if you, and I tell this to people all the time, if you feel like you want to go to a Harley shop, sit on a road glide, and you feel like you can handle the weight and you feel confident on it, that can be your first bike. It doesn't have to be a beginner bike in any way, shape, or form. If you feel confident moving the weight around when it's not on and the engine's not helping you move it around, or going at really slow speeds, I don't truly believe in beginner bike versus not beginner bike. So if you love it, because if you buy a bike and you don't like it, you don't like the way it looks, or you don't like the style of bike, you're not going to ride it. You're going to be a more dangerous rider if you ride it every once in a while than if you're like, I'm in love with that bike and I want to ride it. You're going to get more miles in. You're going to get more confident quicker. And if you grow out of it, you grow out of it. But if you get a small bike because that's what someone told you and you don't want to ride it, you're not going to ride it. You're not going to get experience. But if you're like, I can handle a big bike, and you can handle a big bike, don't let someone convince you that you have to get a small one either. So it really depends on you as to what your first bike should be, not what everybody says.
Yep. And I tell people, first I ask people, what do you plan on doing with it? Where are you going to go with it? And if they ever plan on getting on a highway with it, I say, don't get a 250, don't get a 300. Get something that can go highway speeds. There are 350s that will go highway speed, but make sure it will actually go highway speed. Kawasaki put out, I think it was something crazy like the Exterminator, the Expenditator, whatever. It was a 125cc bike, and it was great. All the MSFs were buying them to go with the Rebels to ride around the 250s. But I don't think they went over 55 miles an hour. They were horrible bikes.
Well,
didn't make them very
Bruiser's saying, what about the Rebel 500? Well, here's my take on that. I think the mid-90s to 1999 Rebel 250 that they use in the class was probably a good first bike. Those are a little bit harder to find now that people have been buying them and either messing them up or chopping them up or whatever they're doing with them. But I personally, and if you ride a Rebel 500, don't come for me, but I think that they are too top heavy, and even more so than everyone says, like the Sportster is top heavy. Well, my Sportster has a lifted tank and I still don't find it to be that top heavy because the seat's so low. My knees are bent with my feet flat on the floor. I feel very confident on my Sportster, and I thought that my 360 was a big bike when I first started riding because it was so tall. I was tiptoeing the whole time. I had a hard time riding that bike, and it was only a 360. My 1200cc Sportster is easier to ride and was easier to get used to than my vintage bike, which I also wouldn't recommend for new riders. Unless you're already mechanically inclined, don't go with a vintage bike because you're not going to get out, you're not going to ride. Unless you have a perfect specimen and you spend probably twice as much as you want on a new bike, on a vintage bike that needs a lot of work, you're just not going to ride much. And getting the miles and the time in is more important than it being a cheap bike. So I do not regret having bought Bernadette as my first bike, but if I had the means to buy a new bike when I first started riding, I would have bought a new bike instead. I would have ridden a lot more. I mean, I had to learn how to bump start my bike while I'm going 40 miles an hour down the road because it would turn off just while I'm riding. I'm like, okay, well, we got to bump it in a second and figure out how to get it started again, or I'm going to be kicking it on the side of the road. And that was more nerve-wracking to me than if I had just spent more money on a bike. And I would have ridden a lot more miles when I started out.
Definitely. And that's why I would say, what do you plan on doing with it? Is it going to be your transportation bike? Are you going to take it to work? Or are you just going to get out on the weekends and have fun with it?
Especially that question is always, if it is your only bike, what you want to do with that bike is paramount among almost anything else. And if you are trying to use it as your primary mode of transportation, do not get a vintage bike if you are not mechanically inclined, regardless of how it leaves wherever you got it from. If you buy a perfectly running bike from us or from another person, and it's perfect when you get it from them, if you can't maintain that level of mechanical condition, you will not have, in 1 month's time, you will not have a running bike. You let the carbs sit, you let the battery sit. So if you're not willing to do the maintenance, it doesn't matter how good it is when you get it, which is the difference between a new bike and a vintage bike.
Yeah.
A new bike, for the most part, is always going to be ready for you when you go out there to go ride.
Yeah, that still gets me when I first started buying fuel injected bikes. The whole idea of I don't have to change the carb floats once a year and check the needles once a year was a different concept for me.
Yeah, I mean, even with my Sportster, which is a 2006, it's still carbureted, and so the petcock's been changed 3 times since I've owned it, just because it kept leaking. And it's like, I will definitely put up with stuff more than most people probably would. So I had a leaking petcock for like 3 months, just because I was like, this is one of the bikes I own, but it's not my primary bike at the time, and I have all these other bikes to ride. But if that was my only bike, I'd be like meticulous about whether it leaks or not, and making sure that you have them on a battery tender, and making sure that you start them the right way while they're being stored, if you keep the battery in it, that kind of stuff. There's a lot that goes into pretty much anything carbureted and back that I just don't think a lot of people are prepared for. If you want that experience and it's not your primary bike, and that's totally fine. A vintage bike is a great machine to learn on, but if you don't have someone who can help you, or prowess on the internet to look it up, or a self-starter, like, a new bike is the way to go for a new rider, for sure.
Absolutely. I used to tell people, well, you can go buy a used bike and you'll ride it for a while and you can sell it back at the same price that you bought it for because it's a used bike. I'm rethinking that now, because so many people, especially since the pandemic, are buying bikes not because they want a bike for the weekend, but because now gas is $4 a gallon in some places.
We absolutely noticed that.
Yeah.
So when I first bought the Sportster, I bought it for regular market price from a dude in Dayton. Like 3 or 4 months later, I had people coming in with my bike parked in the shop asking if I was willing to sell it for like $2,000 more than I paid for it. And I was just like, what?
Oh yeah.
I probably, you know what? I probably should have sold it, but I'm attached to it. I get very attached to my motorcycles. So, yeah, usually you could turn it back around and get at least what you paid for it. But now, if you buy a bike now and you try to sell it a year from now, you'll get what you paid for it if it's in the same condition. But it used to be you could probably get more for it, and that's what we're seeing now. Is like, if a bike is for sale, we're going into the selling season in the spring, but it was just so weird where people were like, there's no bikes for sale.
Yeah.
Couldn't buy a car, so the price for bikes was crazy. And so new people getting into that were like, it's definitely still true now that a good used or vintage motorcycle is just as much money, if not more, than a brand new Royal Enfield at this point. Yep. So why not get one that has a warranty?
Absolutely. If you could, and I'm asking someone who has rode a lot, if you could go anywhere on a motorcycle today, you don't have to start from your home, you can start anywhere in the world and ride somewhere, where would you go?
I have always wanted to, I'm really big on like gamification of things. So I don't have a specific like bucket list ride, but I have like a coast to coast or ride Route 66 or things like that. So I would probably just put all of those type of routes in a hat and pull one out and decide that way, because that would be easier than me trying to decide what I want to ride. There's a ride, I think, that goes from Cape Town, South Africa to someplace in Russia that's like the longest paved road or something like that. Like, that would be totally cool to do.
It is the longest walkable road. Don't get
walkable
that confused.
Road. Okay.
You can. There are parts of it you do have to go across on a cable. If you've never seen the movie Long Way Up, or the long way round.
I recently started watching part of that, but I have not watched the whole thing.
Good. And that's what they thought too. They thought there's a road that goes all the way from, I think they started in somewhere in Britain, took the ferry across and thought we're going to come out on the other side of Russia and go through, get to Alaska, and ride into Los Angeles. The reality of that was some of those roads are only open a month out of the year. Some of them are only open a couple of weeks out of the year. Some of them are open, and within a week, they're washed out with the floods. And they literally had to dig through some of these rivers to make fords to get across the rivers. Absolutely awesome viewing. I'd absolutely recommend it. But be ready for a total safari experience. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, and that honestly sounds baller. I would definitely do something like that.
If you've not watched them all the way around, it is so good. It is so good. I fell in love with both those guys. So awesome. Because the experience of riding and watching these guys struggle, I'm like, yes. They're actually...
I have watched every episode of Itchy Boots until the Alaska, the last half of that season. So I've seen her do so many river crossings where I'm just like, okay, I'm ready, but my feet have been wet for the majority of my riding. I'm not sure if I want to do that.
It's definitely I mean, you can't have a timetable on. You have to go. I'm going to take the time it takes. I'm not hurrying. I'm just going to go.
Yes, that's how I prefer to travel. I don't like to try to get anywhere fast, or I usually try to get there in a certain amount of time. But I always give myself way more time to get back from somewhere, just because I usually decide last minute I want to stop somewhere else. So that's why I usually ride by myself at some point in a ride, because I just want to be like, that looks fun. I'm veering off the route over here. And that people don't like that. So
it took me a while to figure out however long that MapQuest or Expedia or Google Maps says it's going to take. For every 4 hours on there, add an hour.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably my equation as well. When I'm riding with other people, I usually 3 to 5 people, you can usually adhere to that. But once you get to, like last year, we took 11 girls to Bro. It just takes way longer. You have to add another good half an hour for every 4-hour block. So traveling really depends on how many people, the experience level, factoring in the weather. Because if you ride with me or Rainy, it will rain.
Absolutely. Sorry about that, but it may be a short rain, but it's gonna.
Yeah, maybe a short rain, but if you ride with me, it's gonna pour, and you're gonna like really feel like you have accomplished something. You've really made it.
We have got to go somewhere together, just to tempt the fates. I think
we're tempting opening the apocalypse. The mantle of the earth is going to come and destroy humanity, I think, if that happens.
I'll bring my sword just in case. So I know you're leading the Litas, and you said now, so you do the Throttle Co rides. Have you inspired anyone to ride or wrench on their own bikes?
It was really weird when I was actively making YouTube videos that I had people come in who said, I watched your Himalayan video, and that inspired me to come in and either test ride a Himalayan or I want to buy one. Because that was just like such a weird, like seeing the proof in the sauce, or whatever that saying is like, I could theorize that maybe I was inspiring people in Omaha or something. Someone I have a weird uptick in like the middle of the country, people who watch my videos. And I wasn't getting a lot of viewership in the Midwest for a long time. And then suddenly I was. And then some of those people have come to see me at the shop. Rainy?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it might have recently been like re-upped in my mind that I might start making videos again, because I was seeing results. I just, got a little gun shy over the last year for YouTube videos. But I do think that I have actually inspired people to come in the shop and at least test ride bikes or sign up for the class, which is probably happening more often than someone actually buying a bike from us, but I'll take it.
Let me tell you a secret. So before my March trip last year to Forgotten Angels, I looked up this video online for how to pack for camping, and I found this meticulous video on packing and all the things that person brought, and they had them laid out on a table, on a little tarp, and it showed everything. I was like, oh yeah, gotta bring that, gotta bring that, gotta bring that. It was your video. If you haven't figured that out yet, it was your video.
Wait, oh, it was mine?
Yeah.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, you were so meticulous on everything you brought, had it all laid out. This is going to go into that bag, this goes in that bag. And so I think that's the draw of your videos, is you're so meticulous about the things you do. Very, yeah.
The funny thing is I feel like people might look at me like, that is one hot mess. But when it comes to things I'm passionate about, I am very meticulous.
Organized.
Like, thank you for noticing.
Yes.
Yeah, I am very, things have a place, and I will have tested it out. That's probably the biggest benefit of paying attention to what I do, is if I changed it, if I made the effort to spend more money on something and to change it, there was a real reason. Because I will have researched it for a long time. I'll have tested all the options. I will looked at everybody else's review videos for them. So if I've made the decision to use it or not use it, there's a reason. And I really, you led me on with that description of, I know which video you're talking about now. Now I'm blushing.
Yeah, you did a very good job, though. We usually ask
Thanks.
before now, but if anybody in the audience has some questions for us, throw them up. If you throw a question up, make sure you put her name or can you see the chat from your side? Yes, you can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Make sure you put our name, but at the beginning of your question. That way it'll highlight in orange. Mine highlights in orange. I don't know what yours highlights in.
Juice, I thought we were friends.
He can't even spell your name. Kill him.
Boo. Boo.
But yep, highlight the name before the question. That way we'll see it. It'll pop up, and we'll pay attention to it probably. So the next question I got for you, I know you're in a hurry because your shop's already closed and I'm keeping you late. Didn't even bring an alcoholic drink.
No, I brought an energy drink. That tells you how my day has gone.
Yeah, my so the place that was just working before where I'm at now actually made those, and they literally cost like 4 cents a piece to make, and they sell them at an outrageous price.
It's only like $2.50, and honestly, it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's probably the best energy drink I've ever had.
As long as you like
them. I do.
If you could tell a new rider one thing that you had to learn the hard way, what would it be?
Ride your own ride, and I feel like people throw that phrase around a lot. But when my first year riding, I went on like 600 people ride that I was not ready for. But it was to raise money for rhinos. So of course I did it. I rode a vintage Honda CB500 on the freeway going 90 miles an hour to keep up with the group. And it was like my first or second time on the freeway, and it made it pretty unenjoyable for me. And I wish I had just ridden my own ride for that, because I didn't get on the freeway for a long time after that. And I feel like the combination of that and feeling like I had to ride a certain way or be a certain way to be a motorcycle rider kept me from being social in motorcycling when I first started riding. So my best advice for new riders is do not worry about what people think about you or about how you ride, and don't let anybody try to make you ride faster or on more technical roads than you're ready for. You are the only one who can say if you're ready or not. So ride your own ride.
Absolutely. I have learned in my younger days of riding in groups, there was a lot of machismo thrown around.
Yeah.
And I am quick to tell people now, if we're going to go for a group ride, hey, if I start falling behind, don't wait for me. If you're going faster than me, I'm just going to let you go.
And that's how
usually when they speak up and go, yeah, I don't really like to ride that fast either. Because if you don't, everybody's like, well, I got something to prove. Well, I'm going to show how fast I can go around this corner. I'm going to go how fast I can pass this car.
What I have learned is if you've met me for 5 minutes, you know that I'm absolutely a nerd. Like, there's no hiding it. But I had, a lot of that experience in my previous careers in my younger life of trying to feel like you have to keep up. And what I've learned with motorcycling is that it's inherently dangerous by itself. I don't need to prove anything on a motorcycle. I don't need to, ride my bike as fast as I possibly can. I don't need to keep up with a group because I'm probably dilly-dallying looking around, enjoying myself back here. I don't need anyone, or I don't need to be with this group to be enjoying myself. So I'm just going to ride my own ride. Now, when I'm leading a group ride, I've come to start saying, like, if you feel like we're going too fast, which I definitely slow it down for a group. I'm not coming at it from showing everybody how good of a rider I am when I'm leading. So we're probably going at least a speed limit, if not a little bit slower than that, making sure everyone gets through the lights and stuff like that. But I've been on group rides where the leader of the ride makes it unsafe for other people. So I've stopped at gas stations with people and said, hey, we're going to hold back, like, to the sweep, telling them, if you see us, hold back behind you, we're just not going to be going that fast, or we're not running that red light with you, or whatever. And that has influenced me as a ride leader to just be like, if you're uncomfortable going that fast, or if you're uncomfortable going through that light with everyone else, don't do it. Don't worry about anybody else. No one should be worrying about you, and don't worry about anybody else. So. And
I'll throw it back to what we were talking about earlier, setting the standard as something that people don't expect. They expect someone with your maturity in riding to just jump out there and run and haul ass. And when somebody that has ridden for a while goes, look, we're going to stop. If you think you need to stop, I'll stop with you. That gives them not an out really, but it makes it okay for them to recognize their limitations.
Yeah, I feel like my analogy for that is like when you're in high school and everyone's afraid to raise their hand because they're afraid they're going to look dumb if they ask a question.
Yeah.
I will be that person, even if I know the answer. Oh, someone looks like they might be uncomfortable with something. Hey, is it okay if we just don't go that fast? It's not that I have a problem with it, but I try to recognize that in the rest of the people in the group to be like, you might not feel comfortable as the new person in the group or the newest rider in the group to say, hey, I'm not comfortable taking the freeway. Can we go the back roads or whatever? And if the person leading that ride hasn't communicated with the group about what kind of ride this is going to be, this has happened to me a bunch of times. People will show up and say, oh, I've never been on the freeway before. Okay, well, do you want to try to be on the freeway? Or do we want to just take a back road? The back roads are more fun anyway. Who likes riding on the freeway? And that's just to make the rest of the group feel more comfortable when you have someone who is potentially the more experienced of the group saying, yeah, let's just go slower. There's nothing wrong with that. I have nothing to prove. So
yeah, it just because I like going fast sometimes doesn't mean for the sake of someone else we'll have more fun going somewhere else. I'm literally that guy that can have fun doing anything I do.
Yes, so. It's that for me. That's why we get along. Whatever we're doing is fun because we're doing it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how we're doing it. So why would I make it more dangerous for other people? Doesn't make any sense.
And it's more fun when you can see. It's almost like having. You don't have any kids, but when I do something that's kind of mediocre fun, but my kids love it, that makes it more fun for me.
Yes, and that's how I feel with other people.
Yeah.
It's if I can make it so that they're having fun, that makes it so much better for me, even if I've done this 1,000 times. If I can get a new person or someone who's afraid to do something to be enjoying the thing that we're doing, that makes it up here for me. That's so much better than me getting to do it faster or whatever.
And it brings a new delight for me, too. Once I see the delight in them, I was like, yeah, this is fun. Why haven't I done this in a while? This is so awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, so we already talked about what bikes you would ride if you could, or if you'd owned if you could. So flip side of that, if you could ride a bike one time, only once, you could never get on it again, what bike would you ride?
And I can never get on it again after I've ridden it once? Mm-hmm. Why would you do that?
Maybe because it's a bike that you only trust yourself to get on once. Like we talked the other day about getting on the Boss Hoss.
No.
I think I'd be good on that thing one time because knowing me, I'd ride it once, and I'd go, you know what? I think I can go faster next time, and that'd be the time I would kill myself on it.
Juice, the H2. That's probably a great answer. The H2.
Does the H2 come in a two-stroke? That sounds dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, yeah. We've had one in the shop. The original owner brought it in, and it hadn't ridden in like 30 years or something. It was like 1992 was the last time it had been registered or something like that. And when he came to pick it up, he tried to kick it and needed so much help keeping the bike up. And Dylan and the other guys in the shop had ridden, and they're like, Widow Maker. 100%.
That bike. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. The original. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. I actually think I remember seeing that on, I think it was Fortnite's channel. I think he had one of those.
Possibly,
yeah. Yeah. I love that channel.
I feel like a water buffalo would be pretty high up there just because I don't have any, like...
The 3-cylinder?
Yeah, I have no desire to own anything that remotely looks like that, but it sounds like it would be a fun bike to ride. I've never ridden one, but that would be pretty high up there. I feel like the Cake, I think, is a new build electric bike. I think it's called a Cake. I'm not sure. But that would be like, I would just want to say I've ridden it once. I think they're ugly as hell, but they could be fun.
Yeah, and there's some of those bikes like me. They're not powerful, they're not fast, but they just look so cool. Well,
my problem is that's why I don't like this question. The what I would ride once and then never get to ride again is that there are so many of those bikes that I have since I have thought that I wouldn't like, and then I ride it once and I'm like the Street Triple. I looked at that bike thinking, no, I wouldn't like that, and then I rode it and love it. So
was Jean's
then
bike,
I would
right?
Jean's bike. So then I would just rip my heart out if I knew. Expose myself to riding a bike that I could then never ride again. I think about that bike frequently.
Unfair question. Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, oh, if I never could ride that bike again, I'm like, I wish I'd never rode it in the first place.
So there's been bikes that I've in just last year seen I didn't even know existed. That I'm like, I would love to buy that bike.
Yep.
I'd love to just ride it once just to say I was on that bike. I went.
Juice said Street Triple seems like a crime. It feels like you're committing a crime when you ride that bike. It's just easy to be like, whoops, and now we're going 50 in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, and I'm not even on a second.
So the Barber Museum is like 3 hours from here. And there's bikes in there that from the 30s and 40s that I'm like, how the hell did this bike exist 100 years ago? This is ridiculous.
And those people probably rode them year round in the snow, and you're just like, these tires are basically paper thin tubes filled with air.
The supports on them, and it was crazy. So they had, it's a lot of the older police bikes and cart bikes. The shocks were on the axle on the front, straight up and down. Mm-hmm. The same thing on the back, straight up and down. Like they tried to simulate car shocks or something. Yes, yeah, we should do a Barber trip.
It took them a while to figure out the actual mechanics of the rest of the motorcycle. The engine was kind of yeah, we've got that. We've got cylinders, we've got pistons, we've got gears, we've got all that. And then they're just we can make it move. Now, how do we make it not... I always think of that cartoon...
How do we not die?
How do we not die, first of all? But the cartoon where it's just the not fully circle tire, and she's boop-bitty boop, bitty boop, bitty boop. That's what I think about when I see all those antique bikes. I'm just how did y'all not die on every single one of these? How did it stay one piece while you're riding it? Probably only 30 miles an hour is probably how.
Probably. And then you realize some of these board trackers from the 20s.
Oh, board tracks. That racing, is outlawed for a reason. People just died every race.
Yeah, granted, it took them 5 minutes to get up to speed. But again, a bike that literally weighed 120 pounds going 100 miles an hour. What the hell?
Very close proximity to other people who are just if I just reached out and poked you, you'd crash the whole line behind you.
And you're on boards with nails.
Yes, with nails.
That as you drive along them, they're clattering because some of them are loose.
Wearing a just fuck all excuse for a helmet.
Wearing a jersey.
Yeah. No, that sport terrifies me. I've seen videos of it. Yeah. A sweatshirt. And you're like, this is my protection. I have like a leather.
The protection is the letters.
A leather. Yeah.